Welcome back to Games Revealed. I'm James and also the Brink, and we are one. Today I want to talk about the interview at the Verge with Yang and Griffais. And honestly, I think there's a lot of good things to take away from this, a lot of things to kind of clear the air and assumptions going on. And also, we can expect a Steam Deck next to whatever it is. It's not going to be a Pro, because they did mention it's not going to be a Pro. But there's still a lot of exciting things in here, and if you're a Steam controller user, then you're in luck. If you want to read the whole interview, you can do it in the description below. I'll have a link to it. But these are the key takeaways and what you can kind of expect from the next gen. So before we get into it, make sure to like, subscribe, bash that bell with your crowbar. Now, let's get down to business. So first up, the deck may never be a stable console. And they talk about how it's always evolving. There's always bugs to be fixed, always feedback being brought to their attention. They fix a bug, 2 more appears. I don't know if they're creating more bugs or people are just reporting more bugs. Me as a developer, I know that feeling oh so well. It doesn't seem like you'll ever squash the whole bug list. And as long as you can tread water, like you can keep on going on, it's not too bad, which it sounds like they're doing fine. And they're not introducing too many. They are introducing some. We've seen with Proton, but it definitely doesn't seem like it's doing too bad. So with the features of the Steam Deck, they're adding their own features. Then they have the requested features, and they always seem to always have features to do. I also know that oh so well with apps and stuff I've built, and the Deck Revealed app is kind of going that way a little bit. There's a lot of features I want to add to that. The next thing they talked about was the battery being the hardest part to repair on the device and or to remove. Like, they wanted to make this as easy as possible of a device to repair, to get into and tinker, and they've done a good job with that battery being the exception. They are going to be with new iterations, or it sounds like with new revisions to the current Steam Deck generation, are going to make that easier. They're going to place it in a different location and make it easier for you to replace the screen and a bunch of other things. So they've definitely listened to the community, and they're doing a great job of that. And it just further confirms that, hey, we've listened. We want to make this as repairable as possible. We're fixing this one with a revision. Then they talked about Valve hopes that the Steam Deck will inspire additional Steam boxes, Steam machines, whatever you want to say. Steam Machine did not do so well, but with these handheld systems coming out from Ioneo, I mean, Alienware maybe wants to jump back in, maybe make a home PC, who knows? But they are hoping for inspiration for companies to pick it up, these manufacturers to create Steam Decks of their own, essentially, with SteamOS. And I know that they've been working, like both Valve and, let's say, Ioneo and some of these other companies, they've been working together to see if they can get it to work. We'll see, because the Ioneo says they have an Ioneo OS coming out. Who knows about that? Their client on Windows isn't even that great. No hate to that, it's not really that good compared to SteamOS. I am hoping for this. This is honestly something that I really want to see. They don't really see these other manufacturers or these other devices as competitors. They really want to see them adapt and evolve and grow on top of SteamOS. Of course, it helps their sales on Steam. That's a big kicker for this. It's also really hard for these other devices, though, to compete in the price department. So we'll see if this kind of works out for them. Then they talk about the rivals air quotes, having the AMD 6800 handhelds coming out and how powerful they are. And they mentioned ETA Prime, showing that it's much faster than the Steam Deck, but it's also consuming a lot more wattage at 40 watts, where the Steam Deck's not going to consume much more than 29 watts, but the sweet spot is like around 12 watts. And that they talk about how the deck was designed, the APU on it was designed for battery to performance optimizations, and how they really want better battery life with better performance and kind of balancing that act a little bit. The 6800, like the Ioneo 2, it's going to have a bigger battery to help facilitate the power-hungry 6800, and all these other devices are kind of doing that, but all this kind of adds to the price of these devices, so it kind of kills some of the reason to have a console-like handheld. I still think there is a reason to have the Ioneo and the One X player, but the Steam Deck is going to still be solidified as, I think, the main system for the next year or two. But we'll see. This next gen might change that. Then they go on to mention that the Steam Deck is a multi-generational device, a product. They have multiple iterations, including VR and all that. They don't talk about that, but they talk about what they are focusing on for the next generation of the Steam Deck, which sounds like it's going to be coming shortly. Some people are, taking this as 2-3 years, whatever I've read. I think it's about it could be even in maybe next year or two. It's not going to be a Steam Deck Pro. They're not going to improve the performance. They don't want to do a full-on performance change, like meaning changing the APU out. What they want to do is they want to make the screen and the battery better. And in that case, they don't go into too much detail with the screen. Does it mean it's going to make it slimmer? Is it going to make the bezels less apparent? Maybe make a bigger screen? Or is it an OLED? My money is a little bit more on the OLED, maybe even going with a thinner panel. Some of those OLED panels are very thin, maybe making it so that they could make a slim Steam Deck. Assumptions on that, but it would be pretty cool. Then the battery, are they going to slam another battery in there? What are they talking about with the battery and the screen? Those could really make the actual casing, the whole design, the whole case change. So that's an interesting concept. So really curious to see how that's going to go. We do know that it worked with AMD on the next gen APU, which is not going to come out for another 2 years potentially. All rumors, but it's looking pretty good. Then they talk about the Valve Steam Controller 2. I know you guys are all excited for it. The Steam Controller 2 is in the works, or at least they're conceptualizing it right now. And they mentioned that they want to work on it and that they're thinking about it, and they might even work with a third party to do this, but they're definitely wanting a Steam Controller 2, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw one by the end of next year, or at least have it be in the works of them announcing it coming out soon. Then they talked about Valve working on the audio mixer for game, music, and chat, all that stuff. Meaning if you're playing a game, you have Spotify up in another app that you can swap back and forth, because they added that as an update a couple of months ago. You can't change the volume. It doesn't have an audio mixer. Essentially, you can't change between the two different apps. You can do it in desktop mode and then switch back to game mode, which is okay. Or you can do some of that in the desktop mode, but it's not a great experience. It takes a lot of work. Honestly, something I want to kind of explore myself with some scripts and with my app, but they're looking into it and working on it. Then they talk about Valve might let Steam Deck owners share per game power profiles, but probably not graphic settings. And the reason why, I would assume, is graphic settings are a lot harder to share, to cache. It would require each game potentially, because those settings could be stored differently. They could be in different locations. It's a very dynamic thing, as opposed to something that's universal, where the per game power profiles is something they control. So they can share it. It'd be like the Steam controller settings that is shared. You can share those profiles out there, and it definitely is nice. For the couple of games I've tried playing, it was nice to go into the shared profiles for the controllers, and it really helped me be able to play a couple of games. I would love to see a balance between these two and do a per game power profile and graphic settings, something I'm looking into for my app, and something that I wanted to do, but it'd be on a per game basis, meaning I don't know if I would open this up or if I would just take the top games and start doing this every once in a while. But that's my developer brain's working on this. And then they talked about how they fix games, including Elden Ring, how they were able to create a fix really quick for that caching issue. Then the Witcher 3 Next Gen update is a great example. It just came out, and within a day, they had a fix up for it. I kind of suspect that it was an easy fix, and so they were able to do a hot fix on Proton and get that out and make sure that the Next Gen update was working great for the Witcher 3. Then they also talk about how they've spent 6 months on making Halo Infinite work. Then they talked about how they want to get Forza Horizon 5 working because it's rubber banding, and they really think they can improve that and also Halo some more. Then they went on about anti-cheat. They say they're always trying to work with this and try to work with it on their side. And I believe the companies, they don't really say the company's side, but I'm assuming they're really trying to work with Epic, hopefully, but at the same time, who knows? Epic really wants to be a rival with Valve with their store and all that. So it's a little bit questionable there, but they are working on support for Halo, the Master Chief Collection, and the Fall Guys as just 2 examples. It expects them to both eventually be playable on the Steam Deck, though it may need some last tweaks from Epic. Then we got a little bit of an update on how many people built the Steam Deck. Valve's own 20 to 30 person hardware team spent 2 years designing the actual gadget in-house and then pulled in other parts of the company too. And then I believe they also used a manufacturer, a third party, to distribute it, but I'm also sure they used them for creating prototypes and stuff like that too. They pulled together what they've been really learning over the years, and they used a little bit of a superpower when it comes to getting help from the open source community and paid 100 open source developers to work on Proton compatibility layer, the Mesa graphics driver, and Vulkan, among other tasks like Steam for Linux and Chromebooks. So they're also paying a very important group out there, the open source developers, because Proton's open source. A lot of their stuff is actually open source, and a lot of this is just built on open source. And so I think that's really good. Honestly, I'd like to see them pull a couple of QA people or some more QA into there too, to help make sure there's no mistakes with future updates to Proton. With that being said, let me know in the comments below, any of these things exciting to you? Which one of these things do you want to see the most? What do you want to see in the next gen Steam Deck? Me, you know what it is. It's the USB-C 2 slots I want, and I also want the M.2 drive bay to be a 2280. Maybe throw in an OLED, less bezel. I'm not going to get too greedy. I know it's Christmas time, and that's my wish list, Santa Gabe. I want to know what your guys' is, and also what do you guys find interesting about this update? And thanks for watching. Check out my other videos. Check out the description below, which has the link to this article, and also other goodies down there related to the Steam Deck, my surveys, and a bunch of other stuff going on, including the Deck Revealed app campaign fundraising thing that's going to happen soon. So keep an eye out for that. Thank you guys for watching. Peace out. Later.